Hey everybody, Kaysha here, and today I am here with my friend
Jennifer Guskin,
and we need your help. We are right now working on advocacy for combating human trafficking, and here's why. So we'll give you a little bit of background of our story and why we're doing what we're doing.
I was adopted as an infant by a couple who sold me throughout my childhood. I have been to Epstein Island and on multiple Lolita Express types of flights as a child. After I went public, Child Protective Services opened a substance-exposed newborn case, even though all tests came back negative, and they told me that if I wouldn't stop posting on social media, I would never see my daughter again. I started to connect how I was adopted as an infant and then sold throughout my childhood, how many other children who have been through the adoption, foster, and CPS pipelines have also been trafficked to Epstein's Elk.
And as many of you guys know already, based on the work that we do at the Karis Project, I'm an American Indian born in Canada under the Jay Treaty. My father and I were exposed in the improper contagion mitigation for the COVID pandemic in early 2020. As a result of this, I lost everything: a house, cars, corporate assets, jobs. Bank accounts were shut down in Canada, and I fled to the US as an American Indian, fully documented, and was trafficked by rogue agents in ICE and other agents in the government, and forced to live with single American men. I was even imprisoned for 7 months initially, and then trafficked throughout the states. Put on full surveillance tracking and wasn't allowed to leave the city, house, or state without permission, or work without permission. And that happened for many years, and I was on and off the streets because of that, and in and out of shelters. And that is just a small example of what many go through in this trafficking system, be it the family courts or otherwise. So that's why the Karis Project will be going to DC to speak with representatives and do live reporting. We're also going to be in contact with other families who are dealing with human trafficking, and through the CPS courts or through any other means, lesser versions of trafficking, and doing reporting on them live and otherwise. We will also be working on, we ultimately want to shine light on what's going on with the trafficking here in the US. And we also want to meet with various agencies in DC, and we'll be going back and forth for training sessions and other things so that we can be better equipped to help people deal with resolving some of the issues that we're seeing. We will also be putting forth petitions in government to help people get justice, and that's something that we have been working on already so far. We have some petitions that have recently been filed in the state of Colorado, Michigan, Texas, and Arizona, and we will be continuing.
But we can't do this on our own. We will be traveling to events and training courses, as well as DC on a consistent basis. We also have to get acceptable equipment, such as computers, cameras, interview gear, etc. There will be other miscellaneous costs that would also be like gas, food, and rooms if necessary.
So that is why we are working towards combating human trafficking, and that is exactly why we need your help. We cannot do this alone, and most what the Karis Project does is on its own dime. And so we do love and appreciate each and every one of you that support us and all the work that we do. As many of you know, we also live stream on Lindell TV every day. And everything we do, like I said, is on our own dime. So we appreciate all the love and support and all the people who do donate. And we would very much love and appreciate that still. Thank you everybody for your time and considerations. And thank you for all the support. And we will catch you guys in the next one, and hopefully we might see you guys in the future and come across you and maybe be able to do some great things together.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Karis Project podcast. Today, I have with us Lisa Robinson. She is the People's Councillor, and she had an interesting situation standing up for free speech and other things, and is now running for the People's Party of Canada. So you want to give yourself a little introduction to our audience.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Councillor Lisa Robinson here from Pickering, Ontario. Yeah, it's been very, very trying here in the city of Pickering since I got elected back in 2022. I have been fighting my city council and the corporation of the city of Pickering, and standing up against, the corruption I'm seeing, the collusion I'm seeing. I have been through sexual harassment, psychological harassment, all because, I've been standing for the truth and calling out a lot of the people that work at the city of Pickering for, their lies and for things that I'm seeing going on. So they've been trying to bring up integrity commissioner reports against me on an ongoing basis. I've had numerous reports filed against me, and only one of them has actually come from the people, but that also came with coaching and coaxing from my council members and that. Other than that, all the integrity commissioner reports that have come into about me have been coming from my own council, mostly the mayor and the CAO of the corporation of the city of Pickering. And what people need to know is that the integrity commissioner, where all these plaints go into, and the one that reprimands me is a city-paid city integrity commissioner. So it's pretty crazy to see what's happening here.
So you're basically standing up for what you believe is right, and you're seeing things that are wrong, and you're getting punished for it.
Oh, absolutely. It all started because I was trying to bring these 3 motions forward for the people. And one of the motions was that we should only be flying governmental flags on governmental buildings. Well, they lied in the Integrity Commissioner report and said that I did not support the pride flag, and I was attacking the pride flag. So, of course, that hit all the newspapers that I'm transphobic and homophobic, whereas you actually see in my motion, and I even spoke to it, in front of people, that no, I didn't say any specific flag. I just said that only governmental flags should be flown on governmental buildings because it creates a hierarchy in beliefs that some believe and that some don't. And it's kind of crazy because here in the city of Pickering, we also have our own flag raising procedures and bylaws. And we're breaking our own procedures because we're not supposed to fly any flags that are going to create any kind of controversy. And we're not allowed to fly any flags that have to do with someone's ideological beliefs. And then thirdly, we're not allowed to fly any flags more than once in a 12-month period. So, they put in the Integrity Commissioner report to have me lose my pay based on that. They spread my name and they smear it through the mud. And meanwhile, we're breaking all of our own policies, and they completely lied to start with. The second emotion that I was trying to bring forward was also that every man, woman, boy, and girl should have the right to use a biological bathroom, change room of their choice, or the choice to use a universal change room that would be inclusive of all genders and or families. And of course, they said that I was being transphobic and homophobic once again for that. And then they also lied in the Integrity Commissioner report and said that I wanted to get rid of the universal bathroom, which again was a complete lie because I said we need to have the 3 washrooms. One's just strictly for, your biological women, one strictly for biological men, and then to have an open universal change room, which would be like, the old family change rooms that we used to have when I was growing up, and have that inclusive of all genders and our families. And then my third motion that I was trying to bring forward had to do with the Pride events and the drag queen story times. And I was trying to put an age restriction on that because these are lewd events. I've attended many, and all I wanted to do was put an age restriction. So the age restriction was going to be 18 years of age. You had to be in order to participate. And I chose 18 because I was hoping that if we were to debate it, then possibly, I could lower that age down to about 15 years of age, because I think at 15 years of age, a lot of the children know and they're comfortable with who they are and how to speak up a little bit better than they are when they're younger. So I was using that as a negotiation tool. But again, they lied in the Integrity Commission report and said that I wanted to pull all funding and all support for any kind of functionings or parades or events that had to do with the LGBTQ plus community, which again was a complete lie. And that's how it all started.
But drag queen events actually took place in bars where people were over the age of 18 and older, right? Depending on where you live. 19 if you're in Ontario and BC and other places. But at the end of the day, why are they bringing them in for children? Like, I mean, what's wrong with just having story hour with the teachers? Right? Like, I mean, or if you took them to the library and the librarian told them story hour, which is sometimes what they did, where you came there and they sit down and you listen to the librarian tell you stories of somebody who worked there. Why are you bringing a drag queen? Like, for what? And I saw some of those events and like the children should never be there. Never.
No, they should not. And, even our long-term care facilities and stuff, I'm sure there's a lot of lonely grandmothers or grandfathers who would love the chance to go out and read to the children at a library. I mean, we could even utilize that if we want. And, I tried to challenge the community and say, hey, you know what? If you guys want to go out and read to the children so bad, how about you do it not in costume? And how about when you're there, why don't you just read the regular childhood Go Happy books to the children? Like Jack and Jill Went Up the Hill, all of our old story time favorites. And of course, nobody would take me up on that. And this is being pushed by CAS, right? The Children's Aid Services.
What?
That pushes that here in Ontario. They are the ones that book the libraries. Yes, so all of our most innocent children that are being put with families, it's CAS. It's actually pushing it here in Ontario.
That doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't. Because their track record, I mean, like, whatever children's services or whatever you have them, they're all horrendous and they're very bad. Of course, more technical difficulties. We'll see what happens. Guess I'll have to go in and fix that aspect of it when it comes back. I mean, it just seems to have some technical difficulties. The joys of being in Canada, whenever your internet seems to just not want to cooperate when you start doing stuff. It looks like coming back on, so we'll see what happens. Oh, there we go. Yeah. The joys of the internet in Canada when I pay for the highest business internet and I still get throttled. And I shouldn't have any restrictions. It's like I'm back on dial up some days. You start
Oh my
talking the wrong things and things start to get go sideways. So
goodness.
yeah, with the children's services, kind of back to that, they really don't do very well with handling kids. And like I said, in Winnipeg, they put them into hotels. And when I was younger, and the kids were getting sex trafficked, front page of the news, they kept putting kids in hotels, right? So when I sit down and I look at the way that these guys are operating,
Yeah.
I'm like, this doesn't surprise me. These guys are, it's disgusting.
It
Shouldn't
is
be doing.
disgusting. It is. And I mean, we're having a lot of sex trafficking going on here in Pickering, too. We're hearing about it all the time, and children going missing and the sex trafficking that's happening. And they've caught a few people as of late that live here in Pickering that have been targeting children. So thank goodness that they are trying to stay on top of it and do everything that they can to protect our children. But, even with our own recreation center and, you know, not having anyone second my motion to give every, man, woman, boy, or girl the choice to use their own biological change room and feel safe is, in my opinion, I think it's absolutely disgusting. And I can't believe that, you know, anyone, in my opinion, with their right mind would think that, no man should be changing with a little girl. And we have a lot of the residents here in Pickering who don't like it as well. I'm even getting emails now from men saying that they do not want to change with little girls. And we've had a couple of incidents in a recreation center already where there's been a man that opened up a washroom stall and there was a little girl sitting on the toilet. And of course, he shut the door really, really fast and then he booked it out of there. Well, of course, the little girl told her family or whomever, and they went back and they put in a complaint. And then the next thing you know, there's a police officer investigation now looking for this man that opened up the door. And in this particular case, it was a complete accident because he shut the door as fast as he did. So, that alone now could ruin that man's life it could basically ruin his life just knowing that there's an investigation out there against him and, for voyeurism or whatever the case might have been. So it's a horrible, horrible thing. And, it's crazy because at the city of Pickering, the biological bathrooms that we do have, the one for the male and the one for the female, you have to be 18 years and older to use it. So, see, now that doesn't make sense. And you have to be a member. So, for example, let's say myself and my daughter, let's say we both had memberships over at the recreation center. I could go to the biological female bathroom, and my child, even though she has a membership, but because she's under the age of 18, she's being thrown into this universal bathroom. So I am now leaving my child. I can change in a safe spot, what I feel is safe, but my child there now would be, having an issue that she's in there changing with men and boys and other women as well, or whoever. And I mean, that is definitely not right. I would want to be protecting my child and be in a room to protect my child when I know that there's members of the opposite sex there or people, pretending to be the opposite sex.
That's absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you're looking at it, it's like they're making a deliberate attempt to place children in harm's way. Because why would you be able to force the child to go into the universal bathroom with other people of the opposite sex, but as an adult you can go into whatever you want? This is
Right. Yeah.
this is normalizing things that children should never be exposed to. And when you look at what they're teaching them in the schools, and they're like, I mean, they were sending kids home with wooden dildos and things like this, and telling them to ask their parents about masturbation when they're like 5 and 6 years old. And kids should not be exposed to this type of thing. And then when you look at what they're doing with this whole gender ideology, you're looking at a progression of the tactics that they're using are like what they use for traffickers. Child traffickers use it. So the guy in California, Alvin Lee with Courage is a Habit, he outlined this and showed how they use the identical tactics as child sex traffickers in this type of ideology that they're pushing inside of the schools.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we doing this? This is insane.
Yeah, it's exactly. And I don't know why parents, I mean, there's a lot of parents that are standing up and they're pushing back, but you know what? They've got to start pushing back even harder. You know, this just going out there and rallying in front of the school isn't enough. They should be on the phones. They should be absolutely, you know, starting up their own campaigns like those two young girls were doing at the beginning of your segment. God bless their hearts. You know, but parents should be outraged and should be fighting a lot harder for the safety of their children at this time.
Oh yes, oh yeah. That's my daughter and her friend Jen. They were actually Washington this week. Yes.
Oh, really? Congratulations! That is amazing. What a strong daughter you have and her friend. I'm impressed.
Yes, and so they went and they met with Senator Rand Paul's aides, talked to a bunch of people. They're there today talking to people. They had some event that they spoke at yesterday as well, and they need people to stand up because, like, when I sat down and I saw what was going on, I was like, I don't want my youngest daughter to be in this situation, and because of what I stood up for, I haven't seen my youngest daughter for almost 5 years now. Right? Because I was like, saw what was going on. I was like, absolutely not. I can't do that. I have to make sure that people are safe and that people shouldn't be in harm's way. And no one's negligence or deliberate action should do that. And well, they didn't like that. So hammer came down and the lawfare began, like false arrest and all that kind of stuff to prevent me from going into court. And then when I look at this in Canada, this seems to be the norm. You say stand up for something that is according to the law, and they come after you. That's very predatory. Like he was talking to Theron Flurg, and he said we have a predatory government because they act like predators.
Mm-hmm.
They punish the people doing right, and they reward the people who are doing things that are wrong. This is nuts. And so, after all of this, what made you decide to go in and run for politics in federal level?
Well, because somebody had to, for example, you know, right here in Pickering-Brooklin, where I live, we have a liberal candidate who is being dropped in from Markham. So that is the one candidate. And then the other candidate that we have here is a conservative candidate. And I mean, I am a diehard conservative. You know, I'm as conservative as anyone could possibly be. And I was doing some investigation on the conservative that we have. And our conservative candidate, again, does not live anywhere in Pickering or Brooklyn. They're being dropped in, and they're brought in from Doug Ford. I guess she had ran in the provincial election back when. But what really, really bothered me is that this is a conservative who was out there during COVID and trying to push the vaccine on children and on marginalized communities. And I can't get on with that. And there is no way I can vote for a fake conservative, let's say, because that's all they are. They're a fake conservative. Anyone who is going to sit there and push and entice children, like, you know, she was reposting things on her Facebook for like, oh yeah, there's going to be music there and there's going to be goodies there for the kids, and because there was a hesitancy within her own community, and she is part of the Black community, and there was quite a hesitancy that was going on here. So she was going after that community and pushing it on the children. And I cannot get down with that. It's sickening because I've seen, you know, the harm that has come to a lot of the children and to their parents. You know, my own son, like, you know, his friends, and my son was 13, 14, and you know, his buddy came home and he found his dad dead in the kitchen just shortly after getting the shot. And, you know, that affects him because now, you know, it's just him and his mother, you know, a single mom now taking care of a little boy, like the same as myself. And I can't I can't support somebody who would be pushing that on children and putting them in such harm when there was absolutely no evidence, nothing saying what was in this experimental drug that they were pushing. So,
Well,
and that's who our conservative candidate is. So I figured, you know what? I have to run. Maxine Bernier is incredible. Our lines are completely, aligned up 100%. And I had to put myself on the ballot. So at least, I'd vote for myself all in good conscience, I guess.
well, yeah. I mean, I don't think any party looks like what they did before. Like, I mean, everybody's fallen off the cliff, right?
Mm-hmm.
No matter what side. Because I remember when I was a kid and we looked at, yeah, you were like, okay, these guys lie and stuff like that. But what they're doing is just completely out of control. Like, I mean, when you look at the parliamentary hearings and stuff, like the guy from CSIS comes and he's like, well, every government's being controlled by China. And we have the evidence going back from Mulroney to Trudeau. And I'm like, so what's going to happen? Are we going to just have to sit there and take it being controlled by China? Like, come on. Like, it's like it's a conspiracy. The government agencies are saying this on the public record in
Yep.
Parliament Hill. Like, what? Right? So why are we sitting down and saying, well, let's go and vote for the same people that are controlled by China? Jeez.
Yep, that's exactly it. It's a hydra, right? It's like one monster with multiple heads. And that's what it is. It's a political hydra. And, it's that complete definition of insanity. People just keep doing it over and over and over again. They just they vote for the Liberal Party. And when that doesn't work out, then the next term they vote for the Conservatives. That doesn't work out. They just keep flip-flopping back and forth. And they actually think that this time is going to change. It is not going to change. The only way you can make good change is to change your vote. And that's what we're fighting with now, because then everyone says, oh, no, well, if you vote for the PPC, who you really, really, truly want to vote for, you're going to be splitting the vote and we're going to get more of the same. Well, with that mentality, yeah, we are going to get more of the same, right? You have to change your vote in order to make change.
But the PPC are taking more people from the Liberals and the NDP than they are the Conservatives, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really, people should be like, yeah, vote for them, because they're taking more away from the Liberals and the NDP, because there's so much tribalism with the Conservatives that people that are on the Liberal or NDP, they don't want to come there, even though they don't agree with what their leaders are doing, because they're like, well, you guys are just kicking us in the teeth, because it seems to be more like, well, you guys all suck. It's like, no, well, your leaders suck, so don't vote for them, but we'll treat you all right. Come over here. If they did that, it'd be better, but they all suck as far as I'm concerned, because over the last 5 years, who did what? Like, Polyev came out and showed all those emails from what happened at the Winnipeg lab and talked about bioterrorism and everything else like that. What did he do with it? If the guy's a terrorist, why are you just going to be like, oh, well, you're a terrorist. They called you a terrorist, and so we're just going to leave it at that, right? Like, that makes no sense. And then I don't know. I'm ashamed of my government, like, badly.
Oh, absolutely. And also, there's a couple other things that I don't go along with. I mean, Pierre was never there for the movement, with the truckers down in Ottawa. He never stood with them back then. He sat there and he also insulted, Christine Anderson from the EU. And then, we also had our Oshawa MP, Colin Carey. He asked in the House how many people in the House are infiltrated by the World Economic Forum. And I don't know if anyone remembers watching that clip or not, but you have, they stand up and they say, oh, well, sorry, we're having a bit of communication issues right now. And then that was it. That's all you ever heard about it. Nobody's brought that question up again. And there was there were no issues with the technology or anything else, because everybody heard the question loud and clear. And, and then you have Pierre Poilievre saying, well, everyone knew that he was with the WEF, and of course it was scrubbed. But then, he says that he won't work with anyone. Nobody in his cabinet will have any kind of affiliation with the World Economic Forum. But yet, if that was the case, then don't you think when he was calling this election that he would have found out which members in his party are WEF and A, either not let them run, or 2, demand that they step away from the WEF, and then also vet the new members that were coming into his party? But no, he didn't do that. So you're telling me, Mr. Pierre Poilievre, that you're not going to be affiliated with the WEF and you're going to get rid of the members. So what are you going to do after they all get elected and then cause another election, all these little mini by-elections, and wasting people's taxpayers' dollars for doing it? No, you're not going to do that. So, that was one lie. And then here in my own riding here of Pickering-Brooklin, as I said, they handpicked the candidate. But the thing was, and this is really, really disturbing, is that there were about 12 people that wanted to run for the nomination here in Pickering-Brooklin. So for over a year and a half, they've been out there spending their own money and wasting their own time, handing out literature, knocking on doors, signing people up for the Conservative Party. So when that nomination vote came, that, there would be enough members that would vote for them. Well, the Conservative Party decided, nope, you know what? Screw you all. We're not going to have the nomination process take place. And we're going to tell you who's going to represent you at Pickering-Brooklin. And I don't know if you saw the Globe and Mail, not the Globe and Mail. It might have been the Globe and Mail. It was a newspaper. It was about a week and a half ago. The lady, I can't think of her name right now. It will come to me though. She admitted that they did drop-in candidates like that in over 90 ridings. So it wasn't the people's choice to pick who they wanted to represent them. It's the government saying this is who's going to represent you. So these are the yes nodders. And so now you think those people are going to fight for you in government? No, they're not. They're going to do everything that their leader says. They're going to become yes nodders, and that's it. You will not have a voice because of it.
Yes, let's just take a short commercial break. You need to hear from the Pillow Man.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillow is only $14.98. Queens, $18.98. King size, only $1 more. Body pillows, $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
So if you need any of the MyPillow products, you can go mypillow.com/Karis or call 800-845-2942. Use your promo code Karis. They got lots of good stuff. More than just pillows, like bed sheets. You can get kitchen stuff, beds, some bathroom stuff, bathrobes, slippers and stuff. All good stuff. Go check it out. Support a good cause. And so let's kind of get back to with what our government needs to have some serious changes, because we're looking at a whole pattern of people that are saying things and not doing things. And even Poilievre's name showed up. I saw somewhere on X that and I went and looked at it, that it was back up on the World Economic Forum. Then it came back down, I guess. But the whole idea is that you're not vetting anybody. And I looked at what happened even with Maxime Bernier, with the leadership race for the Conservatives when he was going, and he lost 49 to 51%. They had 240,000 voters, registered members to vote, but they had 250,000 votes, right? And then he's like, well, I want to recount because they put it out in the news. And he's like, well, we destroyed them. Really?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are things that we're seeing, and then they're selecting 90 candidates. They're controlling the elections in an unfair manner, and they're
Mhm.
not allowing a process or allowing the people to choose who they want to represent them. They're saying, well, this is who we're going to get. You're going to take it or leave it. And that's really it. But people have been, they're not, they're not showing them, they're not giving them consequences. Vote for someone else. Who cares? Teach them a lesson. Say that I'm not going to support you if you're going to do this. Like, that's what people should do.
Yep,
I,
absolutely. Yeah, if you're not going to let us vote for who we want to represent us, then yeah, then we shouldn't be voting for that person. Absolutely.
it's, I'm appalled. So, I mean, so what is it? What other things are you planning to do should you get elected for your community? You're riding.
Well, I want to clean up City Hall first and foremost because the corruption, it does start at the top, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing here in Pickering whatsoever. I don't know exactly how it is in Brooklyn, but that is something that I would also like to be investigating into. But just about every single thing that Maxime Bernier has on his list of things that he would like to change, like whether it be the immigration, the ending of the woke nonsense, the downsizing of government, protecting children, and parental rights, etc. That's everything that I want to get behind, and that's something that I would be fighting for as soon as I get into Parliament, of course. And then I would like to help clean up what's happening here in Pickering, because so much money is being wasted by the taxpayers. A lot of it is just really a big sham. It's pulling the wool over people's eyes. Like even right now, a lot of the parks that we have here in Pickering, they have their waste bins there. You have a section for garbage and you have a section for recyclables. But what people don't know, I mean, the people could be doing their job and doing what they can for the community and putting the garbage in one and putting the recycle in the other. Well, guess what? Out of our fleet of trucks that we have, only one of them is actually capable of separating the garbage. So they don't even do that. So when you think that you're doing a good thing here in Pickering in the parks and separating your garbage, it's all going into the landfill. All of it. None of it is going into recycling. And people need to know stuff like that here at the city of Pickering. And so, then they want to bring forward a notice of motion that, let's start this anti-littering campaign, right? That we're going to spend thousands of dollars on an anti-littering campaign with temporary signs. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute, why don't we get to the root of the problem? How about we fix these bins for one? And if we're having a problem with litter here, why don't we just get more bins? Because people would rather just throw their stuff in the garbage if they see there's a garbage there instead of throwing it on the ground. So get to the root of the problem. Spend that money on this anti-littering campaign, because nobody pays attention to signs. They're not going to litter just because the sign says no littering or has a cute little slogan. But yeah, and they just don't want to do it. And it's a big farce what's happening here.
Well, a lot of the policies are just nonsensical. They don't make sense. And the
Yeah.
government is just wasting money. Like, I mean, yes, like the recycling, a lot of that stuff goes straight into the garbage. They make you do this. It's just like an exercise in control conditioning to go and do this and do that. And then as they condition us more, now they're like, stay 6 feet apart, put on your mask, stay at home. People are driving in their cars, wearing their masks, walking outside with nobody around them, wearing their mask. I'm like, you're nuts. I'm like, I don't know anybody who's got the flu from being outside by themselves in the middle of the summer, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
so true. So true. And it's you're right. It's a wasteful spending. I mean, I can tell you 3 things, and you're going to laugh at these. I mean, it's not funny. I mean, it's very, very sad that this is what's happened. But I'll give you 3 projects that cost over $1 million when all is said and done. So I mean, you might as well have just taken your dollars here and, you know, thrown a lighter to them. So one project was, we have a skateboard park that they did, and you know, they hired the consultants for thousands of dollars, and then they painted, you know, they created thousands and thousands of dollars, and then the next thing you know, kids are using it. They're on there not even like, you know, 6 months. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, there's been all these complaints. Well, guess what they didn't do? They didn't put down the proper paint. So the paint that they put down, even though they had consultants to make sure it was safe for children, they put down this kind of paint that made it extremely slippery for anybody on a skateboard or, you know, roller skates or, you know, rollerblades or anything like that, that it was extremely slippery. So it became very, very dangerous. So of course, then they got to, like, you know, sandblast it and pull it out of there. Another project that they did, we have a big soccer dome here, and they wanted to put pickleball courts in the back of it. So again, the consultants come in, they pick up the floor, they put the floor down. Well, guess what? They found out that the floor that they installed, the balls don't even bounce. So could you imagine bringing in a pickleball court where your balls aren't going to bounce on the floor? You would have thought consultants, and, you know, when they purchased the flooring, they would have made sure that the flooring would be compatible with the sport. And then another one that they did, which was absolutely ludicrous as well, is that they were putting in a pickleball court in a park next where the tennis courts were, and they did not bother doing a sound study. And this park where they put in the courts is so close to the neighborhood that all they could hear was this all through the day, up until the night, bang, 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 because they didn't do a sound study first. And then, of course, all of the neighborhood complains and they want it taken out of there, which, you know, you would want it too if it was right in your backyard and you couldn't sleep. And then they have to do more sound studies, spend more of the taxpayers' dollars to find out, hey, well, how about for this season if we just put some, like, you know, cushioning on the side or on, like, you know, 2 sides or 4 sides of the court? Will that help dampen the noise? And then they also decide to bring it down to 2 courts. And then they were going to, of course, paint over the lines and whatnot. So those 3 there, because of those mess ups that they did, and they supposedly had consultants help them with it, was cost over $1 million of those F ups, let's say. $1 million. And these are just 3 projects. I could go on with numerous projects that have happened and how much they're wasting taxpayers' dollars. And again, they don't like me calling this out. I keep doing videos and I call them out and call them out. And so they keep on attacking me. And that's why I've been working for free for 9 months.
In Chestermere, Jeff Colvin, he was the former mayor of Chestermere. He was actually talking about the cost overruns that they had with a lot of the consulting, because they had a building that they were charging for like $40 or $50 million or something like that, and that thing should have been like $7 million, and it was just like. And then you're looking at, you know, they put in sewer pumps that were running at like 4% capacity. That's insane. I've got a background in mechanical engineering as a technologist, and I got a degree, and you'd never size a pump like that. That's insane. And when you look at the cost overruns, they're using the engineering to hide the kickbacks, and they're giving bad things, because when you do these types of projects, you have to do all of your checks. You have to make sure that you assess and analyze the risk and what could happen. What's the potential of this happening? What's the consequence? And how do you mitigate this? And doing these types of things should all be standard procedure. If you have a consultant and they didn't do that, they should get fired, or they should pay for everything at cost, because they screwed this up. This is standard basic engineering, good engineering practice that should be drilled into your head. But you're seeing a lot of this being used, and people are getting away with it. Like, I mean, you saw the whole SNC Lavalin scandal with with Trudeau and stuff, you're seeing that kind of stuff happen all the time, everywhere. They're making money, and then they're skimming off the top and saying, "Oh, we'll just let that one go in because we'll overcharge them, and then you'll come back and make more money because you'll have to come back and fix it." Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and we're going to start doing business with them, the city of Pickering.
Yeah, they need
right. They changed their name from what was it? NSC Lavalin?
SNC Lavalin.
SNC Lavalin. Yeah, they changed their name, and the city of Pickering is looking like we're going to be doing some business with them. Yeah. And you were talking about, the kickbacks. Well, we have gifts and benefits. Like, as city councillors, you're allowed to get, gifts and benefits, up to a small amount, like $500 from every person, basically, for the year. Well, it's being abused, of course, because, there's always kickbacks, there's always gifts and benefits. So I tried to bring forward a notice of motion that no city councillor, the mayor, no city staff or directors or their families would be able to accept any kinds of gifts and benefits. Not one person will second that motion to make it go forward. So now you know that everybody enjoys the kickbacks and the gifts and benefits that they're getting, and they would rather have that than be open and transparent with the people. So they'd rather the gifts and benefits. And the thing is another thing is that within our rules of procedure, we only have to put in a statement of claim, like a statement of disclosure, if the gift or benefit is going to, like, myself, a spouse, my parent, or my child. But here's the kicker here. Here's the big loophole. It's like, let's say a developer comes up to me and gives me 100 tickets to the basketball game. Here you go, councillor. Here's 100 tickets to the basketball game. You can do whatever you want with them. So, okay. So I only have to claim that the developer gave me tickets for myself and whoever I was going with. So, like, let's say my spouse, and let's say I brought my child with me. So out of those 100, I only have to claim 3 of them. The 97 other ones, I could be handing out to people to, like, as bribes or to do favors for, to vote for me or to give me money or some kind of favor for them. And that's a big loophole. And it's not uncommon that, a developer will give you 10 tickets. So 100 might be exaggerating, but it's quite common. A developer will give you 10 tickets. I would only have to claim 3 on my statement of disclosure, and those other 7 tickets, I can give them out to whomever I choose and for whatever reason I want to, and nobody would have to know about it.
That's asking for corruption.
Right?
Right. And these types of things have no business being in government whatsoever.
They do not.
Whatsoever. And I mean, they also reported this in Parliament as well. I think it was CSIS, one of their reports I was looking at. They said that there is infiltration of organized crime in every level of the Canadian government, from municipal all the way up to federal. And then they said foreign interference in pretty much every Canadian institution, right? And it's like, so when are we going to do something about this, right? Like, you can't have a country, like, if you have organized crime, then you there's no justice system, right? Like, I mean, they had on the Government of Canada website, like, David Lametti having, directing the chief justices across the provinces to toe the line for COVID. Like, what? Like, how?
Yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, even during COVID, the jurors had to be vaccinated. So if your jurors have to be vaccinated in order to go, like, sit there in a court case, and, like, if you're having jurors, it's a pretty severe court case, right? So now if the person that they want to prosecute, if they weren't vaxxed and yet your jurors have to be vaccinated, how do you expect to get a fair trial? You can't. You cannot get a fair trial. And I mean, that's the whole entire thing, is that you're supposed to get a fair trial in front of your peers. Well, if your peers are all vaccinated and you're not getting a fair trial. And that's when I realized, wait a minute, the justice system isn't working the way that it's supposed to right now.
Yes, they have to do some serious overhauls with the justice system, how they're applying the criminal code and all of that stuff. Like, I mean, it seems to be very selective, and the government's just like, no, like, let's, let the criminals out. But if you hurt someone's feelings with something that's true, well, we'll put you away for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is where we're at in this country, and this is why we need a lot of changes going forward, and people need to start thinking about seriously on who they're going to vote for, because it looks like our country has got suffering from Stockholm syndrome. I don't know what else to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
that's a perfect analogy, Stockholm syndrome, absolutely.
Because they brought Carney in, and people think that Carney's going to do better than Trudeau. I'm like, he's a guy to tell people to shut down their bank accounts and stuff like that during the convoy. And I'm like, that's pretty tyrannical, right?
Yeah, he's done a lot of bad things. People think that he's a good guy. He's not. He's worse than Trudeau. Like, Trudeau is nothing compared to how Carney is going to behave. And, people just got to start opening up their eyes and doing their research. And then they too will see this. I don't understand that, how he's like gaining in the polls all of a sudden. It's just because people just don't do their research. They sit there and they watch CP24 over and over and over again, or all these other mainstream medias and the newspapers, and they believe everything instead of actually doing the research and see what's really going on there. And of course, with the social media bans that we have, it's hard to put things out on Facebook or, any of these other platforms to get people to have the knowledge of what's really happening and see what's happening in other countries that we're following right now. And it's a shame, because it is destroying Canada.
I mean, we're like living in a totalitarian state, because we're getting restricted on free speech. We're getting our media suppressed. And then the Governor General, I was reading, put out another $30 billion while the Parliament was prorogued, and then got almost $200 million for CBC. For what? More government propaganda? Come on. And Justin Trudeau was like, yeah, I pay $600 billion or whatever it was for good press. Well, he wasn't lying.
600 million. Yeah,
600 million. Millions,
yep.
Yes. For good press. Really? And you just walk and say this out publicly, this is no big deal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People need to start thinking and remembering all of the things that were done. I mean,
absolutely. And, they have to really pay attention, because, if you look at the various news sources and they're all saying the exact same thing, wouldn't you make you think something? You're not hearing the other side, you're only hearing one side, and it's almost verbatim the words that they're using. As soon as they use one word, which might be kind of like a crazy word, I don't know, when Trudeau said that everyone was misogynist, let's say, and then all of a sudden that was the word of the week, where every single person who spoke was using that same word, right? And you could put them all together and you could put them on the same screen. You can see that they're all following the exact same script, and people don't get it. If somebody's pushing so hard about one thing and they're not telling you anything about the other side, or no one's asking questions about it, that there's a foul play ahead. And then something's not right.
Well, yes, and they're not really telling you anything that they're going to do to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mark Carney went and talked in Alberta and said that no, he's not going to do anything with the energy, and then he went somewhere else and went and said the complete opposite thing, just in a couple of days. So how can you trust somebody that's going to say something to someone and say something completely opposite to another group? They can't both be true. So either one's a lie or both of them's a lie. You can't trust them, because this is the issue. And so we're running up here on time, so I want you to kind of get into people and ask them, tell them why they should vote for you. What we bring for them should you be elected.
Well, I think the main reason why people should be voting for me is because I've been the only councillor that is being standing strong since the beginning of COVID, and ever since I've been elected. It says a lot about a person who has had their name slandered. It's been dragged through the mud. I've been called a racist and Nazi supremacist. I'm Islamophobic, I'm transphobic, I'm homophobic. And, they've taken away my pay for 9 months. And even though they've taken away my pay for 9 months, I have not stopped working for the people. I keep on calling out the corruption, the collusion, the harassment, the wasteful spending of your tax dollars. And I won't stop. So that I'm a true fighter, and I have the nickname as being the people's counselor, as because I do fight for the people, and I am against all the corruption that's going on in government. And if I make it to that level, I will be calling out the corruption at that level as well. So I think that's, I've really proven myself that I'm not in it for a paycheck. I'm in there to actually, serve the people, which is what I was elected to do. We're supposed to be servants of the people.
All right, thank you. And everybody go and check her out. Her links are in the description if you're watching on Rumble, if you're watching on Facebook, and so forth. And this is something that needs to be done. We need to, people, when you go there, I'm not going to tell you what you should vote for, who you should vote for, but you need to think critically on what is going on. I don't care what somebody says. Look at what they have done. And if you watch, because I sit down and I look, I haven't seen anybody that has delivered on any positive promises for our government over the last 5 years over the most important things. Sure, coming in and saying you're going to repeal the carbon tax that you put in, who cares? You're just going to find another way to do it. It's like I'm beating you up and saying now praise me because I stopped beating you up. That's nonsense. You shouldn't have done it in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so who stood up for anybody with these vaccines, shutting businesses down, and all of these things that destroyed our way of life? But you still want to go and vote for them. So this is where I'm asking people, if you need guidance, go to God, pray. He will direct you in the right way. Just don't do what we were doing before, because this is madness. Anyway, I'm going to close here with a prayer, because Lord knows we need a lot of it, because our country is in some serious problems and we need some divine intervention to stop this madness. Anyway. All right. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for the hope that you have given us. And Lord, watch over Lisa as she goes to represent the people and all the other people that are looking to stand up for the will of the people. Bless them and help them that they would do what is right and get into Ottawa so that there could be some changes to help the people, and that this madness will end, and that the men and women will come together, rebuild their families, our churches, our community, our nation, that we will have some protection for the children is my prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Thank you all for coming, and we will see you guys again next time.